Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's vlog. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to hear your own music objectively. I've got 6 tips for you, and these are just things that I've learned myself that will hopefully be helpful to you. I was recently having a conversation with a young songwriter who said something about how difficult it was to know if their songs were any good, if they were horrible, or, where they were listening to the songs and really thought they were great, but then, wasn't really sure if they knew how to hear their own music objectively. Anyway, it reminded me of my own experience and how I came about to that place where I finally was able to listen with a different set of ears than what I had ever listened to before. And it took some time, but anyway, I'm going to tell you this story. So, in my early days of attempting to write songs at a commercial level, I felt I was a pretty good songwriter. My co-writer at the time, who was also the main musician and the music producer and engineer for the songs we wrote, he was also really talented. We loved what we were creating together, and we would play them for people and they would say, "Oh my gosh, that's you guys. You sound so great. You sound so professional. You sound like what we hear on the radio." But the reality was we were being rejected by professionals. So while our friends and family were blown away and we enjoyed listening, um, there must have been a disconnect because we were not getting any forward momentum. And in our case, we were really trying to get sync placements, which is film and TV placement. So if you're not sure what sync means or what that's all about, make sure you check out the video that I explain what sync licensing is and the 2 different pathways that you can take. Anyway, back to my story. So we had joined a company called Taxi, which I'll talk a little bit more. They're kind of a middleman company, and we were getting some feedback when we started submitting our songs to them. And the feedback usually said something about my lyrics not being super great, my vocal not being super great, which ouch. um, or just the production not being what it needed to be, which double ouch. We were both putting a lot of heart and soul into these songs, and to have them rejected, it really, really hurt. But the worst part of it was we didn't really know how to fix anything because we didn't know how what needed to be fixed, and or if what our next attempt would be, if that was any different, if we were going to get the same rejection. So as part of our membership with Taxi, we started attending a lot of pitch sessions. But pitch sessions are they're opportunities for songwriters, artists, people like you and me, to pitch our songs to a panel of music industry executives. And those could be music supervisors that work on film and TV. It could be other producers. It could be record label A&R people. Anyway, it's a panel full of experts who, because of their credits, that they know what they're talking about, right? So anyway, we started going to these pitch sessions, and it's a room full of just hundreds of people, and there's a big bin, and everyone would throw in a CD. And yes, back in this day, it was all CDs. You would submit a CD that said track 11 and this in this big bin. And then throughout the pitch session, they would talk about what they were looking for specifically. And we all, as a room, a whole group of people, would listen to these randomly selected CDs, and they'd start playing the track. And we didn't know whose it was, and I'm sure the person in the room, it was their song, they were probably freaking out. But now the panelists, they would play about a minute of it, and the panelists would start telling you what was wrong with it and what they did and didn't like, and why it wouldn't work for a TV show, or why it wouldn't work for as a hit song, or whatever it was that that person was interested in. And after attending a lot of these pitch sessions, I found that I was starting to understand, like I could actually anticipate what the panelists were going to think about the song as they're playing it. I'm thinking, oh no, this vocal is not good enough, or these lyrics are lame. I would all start figuring that out as they were playing it. And anyway, one fateful pitch session, one of our songs was played. And, there's hundreds of songs in this bin. And so you can go to a lot of pitch sessions and never have your song picked. So you're always just a little bit nervous when they pick and you're not sure if it's going to be you. Anyway, one of these sessions, they picked it and they started to play it. And both my co-writer and producer and I both felt the same exact sensation, which was, oh, we could tell. Now it's strange because when we had heard it before, we loved it. But when we heard it in that setting, in that room, after listening to other songs, we knew instantly that the song, there was some things wrong with the mix. I didn't have the ear to know that it was there were some mix issues with it at the time, but it just wasn't where it needed to be. And it was obvious to both of us at that pitch session. So those pitch sessions, they trained my ear to hear music differently, and it helped me develop the ability to hear my own music objectively. And, that took time. It didn't just happen overnight, but over time, I was able to detach myself a little bit from my own ideas and have learned these tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you today that have helped me out. Now, just a word of warning, these suggestions are for people who really want to be professionals and are seeking to be creating at that professional level. Some people want to just be creative and they don't want to have, limitations, or they don't want to say, I need it to be, specifically for this. That's fine. Just continue on doing what you're doing. But if you are really seeking for some professional goals in your music career, the reality is you do have to meet some standards, and whether we like it or not. And anyway, this is really specifically for people who are really, truly seeking to be professional. Okay. And it's not related to building a fan base, because your relationship with your fans, that's a different conversation. This is just for kind of what needs to happen so that you're doing your best work, your mixes are where they need to be, your songwriting is where it needs to be. Okay, number one, stop listening to friends and family. People who love and care for you will always listen with a different filter than they listen to other people's music. That is just the reality. They will not be able to ever listen to your music objectively. So of course, be gracious when they tell you how amazing you are and how great your music is. Just know that they are not the judges. They're not the ones that are the gatekeepers, and they're not going to give you the absolute most objective point of view. That being said, your friends and family are usually your first fans. So don't be tempted to dismiss them as such simply because they are your friends and family. This isn't related to building a fan base, remember, but only to who to listen to for specific feedback about the quality of your music. Number two, stop listening to people on social media. Okay, again, this may sound a little counterintuitive since most of you are building and connecting with your fan base on social media, but this is one of the big reasons why it is important to move fans away from your social media and onto your mailing list. Other creatives are on social media engaging, commenting, and so-called connecting with you for their own purposes, right? I mean, isn't this how we get the algorithms to work in our favor? Well, isn't this how we find and connect with new fans? Well, here's the thing. These days, we have two issues working against us as creatives when it comes to social media. Only two. First of all, yes, this is how we find and connect with fans. So we have to be there. Second of all, we are living in an era of over the top positivity and over the top negativity. But in the positivity, so many scenarios, I mean, that can be a really great thing, right? But I have personally witnessed people posting videos or audio of themselves, and they are singing, and they are really, really, really not good at all. But the comments will be like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. And I mean, I feel so bad kind of saying this, but that is not helpful either, right? It's, you don't want to be negative, you don't want trolls, but I think either way, you've got this over the top positivity. That reaction is not accurate. It does not say, oh, okay, now I know that I am actually putting out professional level work. Same thing where you see, oh my gosh, you suck so bad on Beyonce's, comments, when that's not reality either. So I think either way, you can say the people commenting on social media, that is not, those are not helpful comments. That is not helpful feedback. And again, this is not about your fan base. This is just people on socials who say things that aren't accurate. Okay, don't be a troll. This also means you must not take any comment as meaningful feedback. Okay, we're done with that. All right, number 3, study great songs commercially released that really move you and connect with you. There's really no other way to know how to write great songs than to study great songs. Whether it's the production you love or the nuts and bolts of the song, the lyrics and melody, you got to study them. You got to go beyond just listening for enjoyment. Really break it down, study the arc of the story, the way phrases work together, the change in melodic shape from section to section, why certain parts of the song stick in your head, etc. And I would go a step further. This is kind of talking mainly about your talking about the bones of a song, like the lyrics and melody, but it's the same with production. I tell people who are interested in learning how to produce and how to mix that really you have to be listening to what the great producers and mix engineers are doing. And that's just really the best way to learn. Number 4, read books and blogs, listen to podcasts, etc. about songwriting and production. These resources often use great songs as examples and explain why a certain lyric worked so well, or reveal the magical process a songwriter used to create the most beautiful melody. Be a better craftsman by studying your craft. Number 5, become a helpful critic for other aspiring creators. There are songwriting organizations and Facebook groups full of creators who post their works in progress and ask for feedback. Take an hour one day a week and do some listening and offer constructive feedback. Remember to be kind, respectful, and helpful. If something sounds so awful that you can't think of anything nice to say or give them any suggestion that is respectful, just move on, find another post to comment on. This process of listening to someone else's work in progress, knowing the intention is to give helpful feedback, that should really help you begin to recognize the details of what makes a song move you, like what makes a song work or not work. And number 6, get professional feedback. Probably the best move I ever made to improve my songwriting was joining a company called Taxi that I mentioned before. Now, they're like a middleman company. So let's say a major record label is looking for hit songs for a well-known artist on their roster. They send a brief out to publishers and sometimes directly to companies like Taxi. Taxi shares this brief. Major artist or major label looking for big ballads for a huge artist for their next album. An artist like along the lines of Celine Dion or Josh Groban, something like that. So Taxi members see these briefs and submit a song or two that may be a fit. Now, Taxi charges a $5 fee per submission, which I am certain is a way to keep people from pitching all of their songs to every brief, because they, in fact, will. Anyway, when I joined Taxi, I really had never received any unbiased professional feedback on my songs. The first year of my membership, every single song I submitted was rejected. So for some of the submissions, Taxi would offer a critique. And the critiques were coming back with specific instructions on my lyric writing, writing better melodies, working on the production quality, and so on. The annual convention that Taxi holds is where I started attending those pitch sessions I was telling you about. Getting rejection after rejection, reading the critiques and learning to hear what the industry pros were looking for sent me down the path to actually learning how to write at a professional level. Eventually, I started getting songs I submitted forwarded to Taxi's clients and got quite a few sync placements that way and connections with music libraries and publishers. Now, there are companies like Taxi, but there are also organizations like NSAI, which I highly recommend you should join if you're interested in writing for country artists. There are also blogs, people like me, other professional songwriters, other producers who offer feedback. You can also get press for album reviews once your music is already done. I've always felt like that was kind of counterintuitive. An album review is more to give you and your album, your release, some press, some momentum to move and get noticed. It's really not about getting criticism on that song or on those songs, because you've already put all this money and effort into it. And so you kind of would be like, oh, now I've put thousands and thousands of dollars in this song and you're telling me I should rewrite it? Heck no. So anyway, I think you can get feedback for sure that way. If you've already released songs, you should go for it. But anything that you're planning on releasing or you're in the process of working on now, you definitely don't want to put money into producing it and marketing it until you've gotten some professional feedback. Okay, that's it for this vlog. I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other tips or suggestions for us. See ya.